time has come to push the button. No, just me. Okay.
And it has been some time.
Yes.
Pushed back an entire year. And it's been, how long has it been since Baby Driver? Baby Driver 2017?
Yep.
Yep. So it's 4 years since his last original feature film. If you don't count Sparks, you should count Sparks.
You should count Sparks. Yeah.
So Last Night in Soho, and it's Edgar Wright's first sort of step into the sort of psychological horror sort of genre, isn't it? And he's co-written it with Christy Wilson-Cairns, who I don't know a lot about. Christy Wilson-Cairns. Do you know much about Christy Wilson-Cairns? She's done Taggart and stuff like that. Oh, she did 1917.
Oh, yeah, she did 1917. Yeah.
But you've got in there Thomasin McKenzie, who was wonderful in Jojo Rabbit.
I did not know she was from New Zealand.
I know. I only found that out the other day as well. I thought she was maybe like, I don't know, Eastern European, like, I don't know, Scandinavian or something like that. I don't know what I expected. But yeah, she played. Was it Elsa in Jojo?
Why not?
Something like that. Anyway, also got Anya Taylor-Joy. I mean, recently, I think most people have got to know her this year because of Queen's
Gambit. Yeah.
What else? She was in Peaky Blinders.
She was in The Witch. I don't think she wasn't in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, she's been in Peaky Blinders.
Is she?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She's in Peaky Blinders. She's like in one of the latest series. Yeah.
Oh.
You've also got Matt Smith, I don't know, what is he, 15th Doctor?
One of them.
You've also got Diana Rigg in her final role before she passed away. Terence Stamp pops up in there as well.
Yes, he does. Zod.
Yep. So it's quite a cast, and it's set entirely around Soho. And you've got Ellie Turner, who lives in Cornwall with her grandmother. She's an aspiring fashion student, and she moves to London, having got a place at London Fashion School of Fashion, something like that. But she's a bit of an outsider, isn't she? She's doesn't quite fit in with the cool people and that. And she ends up occupying a room in a bedsit house owned by Diana Rigg's character, and starts having these weird visions, and which take her back to the 60s.
It's probably worth mentioning, very, very early on, literally seconds into the film, we find out that she's kind of got a bit of a gift. It's almost like a bit like The Shining. She sees it. Well, we find out it's her mother quite, again, at the beginning, her mum's dead. But she still sees her mum. But even her gran knows about her. The gran says, is she still with you? And she's like, yeah, and we can see her mum in like a mirror and that sort of stuff. So we know she's kind of, there's another level to her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and these sort of visions, sort of like dreams, but they take her back to the 60s, and she occupies. Well, she sort of observes and also becomes Sandy, who is an aspiring singer in the 60s, and it's interesting actually because it does that sort of lucid dream thing where. When you have those dreams where you're not quite sure whether you're the observer or whether you are the person, and you always jump in and out of that. And I think what he does is quite a good job of doing that sort of in between. Is she being her or is she watching her, sort of thing? Yeah. Lots of really cool. It looks beautiful. The way they have styled Soho and made it look like the 60s is just amazing. I think there's a lot of cool camera trickery, particularly with reflections and mirrors, which perhaps you could say it's overdone quite a bit. But he's certainly having a lot of enjoyment using that sort of
those techniques.
Those techniques. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I feel like I'm in a really difficult position because, like, I feel like I don't want to be disloyal to Edgar Wright because, like, do you know what? I feel a bit like I did after watching The World's End, and I have to say, first of all, it's much better than The World's End. Right? He has matured since The World's End in his writing, and certainly in the budget. and in the sort of scale of production and everything like that in the film, and it's going to be much more memorable than The World's End. Where it falls down for me is in the sort of the nitty gritty of the writing, and it didn't do enough for me in terms of coming together at the end. I think it was quite disappointing towards the end. It ended up being quite similar to one of the Cornetto Three Flavors ice cream trilogy films towards the end. Whilst I don't know what I was waiting for. I was waiting for a bit of a wow moment. I was waiting for maybe a huge twist. I was waiting for some sort of moment of genius that never quite came for me.
You seem so deflated from this, by the way. Just to put that out there, you seem like you're really quite upset.
Do you know what? I didn't realise this until I started talking. I enjoyed the experience of watching the film. It's better than most stuff out there. Do you know? I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's better than 99% of films that are out there. I think maybe I've got the problem of holding Edgar Wright so high on a pedestal. His last big film, Baby Driver, I loved it, and I will watch it again and again and again. And I was really, and maybe it's the anticipation again, setting you up for disappointment. And I wanted to absolutely love this film, and I can't think now, and I've only just realised it whilst I'm talking about it. I've come away and I've not loved it.
Yeah. That was my first point. I love Edgar Wright films. I don't love them all. I don't rate Baby Driver half as highly as you do. I didn't really like The World's End at all. I thought it was very lazy. And me and Lever were talking about this the other day. We don't actually think he's done anything that great since Scott Pilgrim. And I know how you feel about Scott Pilgrim, but this is the thing. I love Edgar Wright films. I liked this film. I didn't love it. And I think that was my main come away. I thought, it was all right. But usually when I come out of an Edgar Wright film, I'm like, that was great. Or, you know what, that was really good. Baby Driver, I came out and I was like, that was really good. But it wasn't like, oh, that was fantastic. This one, I'm like, it was all right. And I don't feel used to saying that about Edgar Wright films. Do you know what I mean?
No. I think for me, the main problems were in the plot. I think the way it looked, I thought the performances were amazing. I really like Anya Taylor-Joy. Really like Thomasin McKenzie. I think she's fantastic. I didn't think Matt Smith was that great.
I did. I suppose I'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, he was having a lot of fun, but I didn't think he was that great. But I thought visually it was stunning. I thought it really, really was stunning, and see London like that, and I really believed I was in '60s Soho there, and the aesthetics of it, and also the feel, the whole thing. I felt like you'd been been sent back with her to the '60s. I thought it was really clever how they did that. So, what other things disappointed me? I wanted more. So, the whole thing with her, without giving too much away. Her original flatmates.
Yes.
And the bitch, let's say it.
Yeah, the bitch.
I wanted more resolve there.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed that didn't come. I mean, yeah. I think it fell into sort of tropes a bit with the romance side of it. I thought that was kind of quite predictable and quite sort of but yeah, I mean the main thing I think it fell apart with was the writing, but everything else for me was fantastic there. Right length, was it 2 hours? About a couple of hours?
Yeah, 2 and a bit, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've just got je ne sais quoi. I don't quite know. I'll watch it again. Of course I'll watch it again. Yeah.
Right, okay. Pros. I'm going to talk you through some pros. I thought the production design was incredible. I felt like this was Edgar Wright's response to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Tarantino definitely recreating 60s Hollywood. Well, Edgar Wright goes, well, tell you what, I'll do 60s London and Soho, and it looks wonderful. That's really, really cool. Yeah. I really like the supporting cast. I thought that they were great. It's always nice to see Matt Smith. I was a big Doctor Who fan when Matt Smith was on Doctor Who, so I love Matt Smith. So it was really nice to see him having a bit of fun. Yeah, the accent slips a bit, but he's, I thought he was quite a imposing screen presence, which was really nice. Yeah. Terence Stamp swaggering his way into the bad books, which was great. I really loved. He was. They said to Terence Stamp, "Terence, act cool," and he's like, "All right, okay," and he's just got this like brilliant swagger, absolutely fantastic. Diana Rigg, really, really nice. Again, channeling a Game of Thrones character a little bit, but again in a really nice. She had, you can tell she had a lot of fun in her final role. Anna Taylor-Joy was great and showing what she can do. With the singing and the dancing and that sort of stuff. But for me, actually, a surprisingly smaller role than I thought she was going to have in it. She doesn't get to do that much. When she's on screen, she's great, and you can tell she's having fun. But actually, she wasn't in it that much, I thought. But anyway, there you go. It's definitely got style, and it's got some of the Edgar Wright touches, as you can imagine. A few little nice nods to some of his older films as well. There's a nice callback to Nelson's Shop. And a nice, Edgar Wright loves people pulling pints in films, which is really lovely to see. Did you see the what's her name from Father Ted? Would you like a cake, Father? It's got cocaine in it. Oh, I didn't mean cocaine. I meant raisins. As the landlady, that was funny. And I love that sort of beautiful choreography. It was fantastic. Some really, really clever cuts and really clever sort of sequences, especially, the dance sequence is absolutely brilliant. You can tell they all sort of really relished making that sequence, ducking under the camera and running around and swapping hands, all that sort of stuff. Really cool. And obviously the soundtrack as well. We got to talk about the soundtrack is ace. It's so good.
Yeah. I was playing it in the car today.
Pop, lots of Cilla Black, which is great, and it's just brilliant, really, really good. So they're the things I really liked about it. The cons, though, for me, and there was more than I'd like to say. First, I think obviously we know Edgar Wright is a big film buff. And he stated all along his influences for this were Dario Argento's Suspiria, Don't Look Now, which are great films within themselves. But I felt like he was almost trying a bit too hard to make to remake these films or these feelings. And it works to a certain extent, but I feel like he unfortunately kind of relies a little bit too much on cliches that we know and we're just sort of so used to now, which is a shame. I thought some of the acting was shocking. I can't pinpoint who it actually was, but there was parts of it I was like, I feel like I'm watching Hollyoaks a little bit here, or something, something a bit kind of crap. Maybe it was some of the university bits. I was just like, I don't know. It's maybe it's because Edgar Wright, everything Edgar Wright has done has been so kind of elevated to the next level in terms of everything's always been a bit over the top. So when he's trying to make something that's a little bit, some of these scenes that are a little bit more natural, it didn't quite work for me, unfortunately. Everyone seems completely fine with seeing ghosts. She tells her boyfriend, "I've seen a murder in the 60s," and he's like, "Okay, how can I help?" It's like, oh, all right, okay. So that's fine, whatever, great. And then for me, the last act of the film felt like a Doctor Who episode. It turns into this, it's Doctor Who meets The Sixth Sense, really, isn't it? When you actually sort of break it down, what we're getting, it's like, okay, and there's some naff CGI that doesn't make things particularly scary. Even the film itself, I didn't think was scary in the slightest. Though I don't think there was any real bits that I was particularly scared at. No. And it was like there's, without giving too much away, she starts seeing these ghosts quite a lot, but they felt like second-rate Doctor Who characters to me, and it was like, oh, okay, there you go.
It's a very cine-literate film, isn't it? It knows its references, it knows its influences, and it wears them on his sleeve. And I think that's what Edgar Wright is, unashamedly a huge fan of cinema.
Yeah.
And such a broad fan of all sorts of cinema, and probably a lot of stuff that we would never think of watching or seeing. But he gets all sorts in there, and you got to just admire the fact that his passion absolutely comes through in his filmmaking. It's just one of them. For me, it's more enjoyable to see on a smaller budget. I think, really.
The thing is, saying that though, we've said that about Quentin Tarantino, and we've actually we've disregarded that sometimes with Tarantino when he lets his influences come through too much. So, for example, like Hateful Eight, and I know maybe you've still not seen that, but like that's his that's because he loves these like westerns, but it's a crap film, and I feel sometimes you're like you can't really justify that as an excuse sometimes though. It's like but I love all these films. It's like, great, but we don't. And it doesn't that doesn't make it a good film, you know what I mean? And it's a shame, and I feel like, I don't know, it's done quite well, it's been well reviewed, but I'd like him to do something different and not it's a tough one because I didn't love Baby Driver, but Baby Driver was quite refreshing because he was doing something a bit different, and I feel like it's not. And this is, there's elements of a lot of his other films in this film, and I'm like, kind of seen it. Yeah, unfortunately, but there you go. Okay.
Should we see what Elliot thought of it?
Yes.
So I saw Last Night in Soho on Friday, and I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I think the things that it did really well, the sort of all the going back in time scenes, visually it was amazing. It had like sort of everything you expect from Edgar Wright. Really clever cuts. The use of mirrors was really good. Sort of like reflections in the knife when someone was being stabbed. I thought it was pretty cool. But other than that, I kind of did think it felt like a really, in tone, it felt like a weak Cornetto trilogy movie rather than a straight up horror. Like, for me in recent years, the best horror films have been sort of things like Midsommar and Hereditary. I'm not like a huge horror fan, but they're the sort of standard for me. They really do make you feel uncomfortable as you're watching them, whereas this kind of in tone just felt like another Cornetto trilogy film, but without the humour really. And I thought towards the end of the film it went a bit Hot Fuzz, but really Hot Fuzz was actually scarier than this film. This film wasn't really that scary, in my opinion. And I thought, aside from the two lead roles, the acting was pretty weak. Like, Matt Smith's Cockney accent is absolutely awful. But yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it, but I just didn't really. I was hoping it would be more of a sinister tone. But yeah,
that's my brother Elliot giving his thoughts on. I think similar sort of ideas there, aren't there?
Let's hear what Mark has to say.
Right. Initial reaction.
This is Mark. Pleasantly surprised.
Okay. Tell me more.
I think going in, if you remember, I said this is not a movie I would choose.
Yes.
I'm not drawn to it. It's just not really of interest to me. But yeah, I thought it was nice little twist. Which, to be honest with you, I feel like I did see it coming.
Yeah.
But that didn't spoil it for me. Even though I saw it coming, I still enjoyed it all the more, and it's a nice psychological thriller.
Okay, good.
And that was Mark. Thank you.
Here you go.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Do you know what I said to myself the other week? I don't know what's happening. I've not had a film in a while. I've been waiting for a film to really wow me, I've been coming out of cinemas recently. I keep questioning myself whether it's me. I came out of No Time to Die, and I felt deflated. Like, I came out of French Dispatch, and there's a lot to like about it. I didn't love it.
Yeah.
Same with this, and I don't know what. Maybe it is me. What's going on? Why? I've got unreasonable.
To be fair, I was thinking the same. Not about you, but about me. I really liked No Time to Die. a lot more than you, but a lot of the new films I've seen recently, I've been like, yeah, that wasn't great. And to be honest, I'm probably going to go and watch Eternals this week. Well, it comes out Friday.
How long it's 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, but so is June. Dune.
Yeah, but
so I'm probably going to watch that, but I don't really have high hopes, if I'm honest with you. So it is what it is. Okay, then, Greg, would you say that Last Night in Soho is The Spy Who Loved Me or Jurassic Park 3?
It's Edgar Wright film. It's obviously The Spy Who Loved Me, and I wouldn't dare do anything less. I love you, Edgar. I really love you, Edgar Wright. And I'll always champion you. Just didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, I'll probably agree. Spy Who Loved Me, but it's still better than a lot of the things out there, but it's not great, unfortunately. Where can we see Last Night in Soho, Gregory?
Last Night in Soho is available in cinemas now.